in the last video, we saw how we can shorten verb phrases in Pashto. We can kill the king, take the king out of the phrase. We can shrink the servant, which is turn the servant into a mini pronoun, and that goes in the kids section, which is after the first block. Or we can do both of those and make it really short. So in this video, we're going to learn a little bit more about this kids section, about shrinking things, and some really, really cool things that happen with Pashto in this. So the first thing to remember is that the kids section will change depending on what the blocks are in the sentence. So if we were to add another thing in here and we were to say, let's say yesterday, I saw you yesterday, then we have Parun me ulidele. Now the kids section is after Parun. So you can't say Parun wumilidele. You have to say Parun me ulidele. But if Parun is not there, then it's going to be wumilidele. I saw you. Just like that. So that's what happens. The kid will always go in the mini pronoun will always go in the kids section, and the kids section is always after the first block. But we can stick more than just one mini pronoun in a kids section. How does that work? So let's take a look at, let's use a perfective future. And so now we have zabatauinam, I will see you. Notice here we have a ba. The future tenses use a ba marker. It's like a little particle, and we consider this also like a little child, like a kid, and we put it in the kids section. So this always has to go in the kids section. We can't say zatabauinam. You have to say zabatauinam, because the ba has to go in the kids section. And so if we were to take out the king, then it's tabauinam. You can't say taubauinam, it's tabauinam. And if we were to shrink the servant, zabadeuinam. Ah, look at this. So now we have two things in the kids section. We have de, which is the shrunken servant, replacing ta, and we have ba, which is the future marker. Zabadeuinam. And notice the mini pronoun comes after ba. So both these things go in the kids section, but the mini pronoun always has to go after ba. So if we do both, then we have wubadewinam after the perfective head. If we use something without a perfective head, like the imperfective future, it's going to be winambade, like that. Kids section is always after the first block. So that's cool, but what if we have multiple mini pronouns? What would happen, and how is that possible? Let's say zabatawinam, let's say where I'm going to see you. Let's say in, let's give put a sandwich in here. That's an adverb phrase, and let's say in, whereas in, paquet, like that. So we have to say in what? What do we stick in the sandwich? In house. Okay, so I'll see you in the house. Pakorki bazatawinam. This is important. Notice we have here, this is one block. It's 3 words, pakorki, but it's actually one adverb phrase. So the ba comes after that whole block, like that. Pakorki bazatawinam. Now, what if we were to say whose house it is? Let's add a possessor onto the kor, the house. So let's say it's his house. Dahara pakorki bazatawinam. Notice this block's getting bigger, but it's still one block. You could say in his big house. Let's say in his rat. I'll see you in his big house. Dahara parat korki bazatawinam. That's a whole bunch of words, but it's one block. Let's take out the adjective for now. Now, here, there's 2 things that we can shrink, actually. We can shrink the servant. We can also shrink the possessives. So the possessors can be shrunken into mini pronouns. Look at over here, we have a magic wand, and we can shrink it like that. And now look what happens. Pakorki bayizatawinam. So this ye is a third person mini pronoun. It's the shrunken version of the possessor dahara. So instead of saying dahara pakorki, you could say pakorki. So dahara pakorki bayizatawinam. Notice this mini pronoun comes into the kids section, and it comes after the ba, like that. So now we have a ba, we have one mini pronoun, but what if we were to also shrink the servant? So let's get rid of the king, and now let's also shrink the servant. What is going to happen here? You can try to think about it for a second, and then let's see. Pakorki badeiza, oops, let's do it this way. Pakorki badeiwinam, like that. So this is really interesting. Pakorki badeiwinam. So we have this right here is the shrunken servant, and this right here is a shrunken possessive. And notice that even though it comes from here, it goes way over here, because after ba, when you have put in mini pronouns, you have to line up 1, 2, and 3. You can have up to 2 mini pronouns, but they have to line up in order in first person, second person, and third person. So here we have pakorki badeiwinam. You can't say pakorki badeiwinam. Now, sometimes learners think that, oh, if this word came from here, this has to stay close to here. Not at all. It just has to go into the kids section, wherever that is. And then, yeah, so if we were to say, like, if I was to add all these things in, let's do like this, and let's move this over here towards the end of the sentence. Zabayeta pakorki winam. So you can, wherever it comes from, it has to go into the kids section. So let's put it in more of a normal sentence order. Pakorki baiza tawinam, with the shrunken up, pakorki badewinam, like that. So this is really interesting because this can create some ambiguity about what's being said or what mini pronoun comes from what. So there's some really interesting things that can happen in Pashto. Let's look at a different example. Well, if we take the verb wahal, to hit, and if we say that, let's say that she hit a child. So let's say it's a mashum, a child, like this. And then I think it's a little bit bigger so it fits better. Okay, so let's say, yeah, she hit the child. Let's make it past tense. Hare mashum uahalo, or uaha, like that. Let's make it a female child. Hare mashuma uahala. So we have she hit the child. So if we were to shrink the servant, we have mashumaye uahala, like that. She hit the child. But let's say whose child it is. Let's say it's my child. So she hit my child. Hare zma mashuma uahala, like that. So we can shrink two things here. We can shrink the servant, and we can also shrink this possessor. So if let's look at the blocks here. Hare zma mashuma uahala. So if we shrink the servant, then the servant is going to come over here. Watch this. We shrink the servant. Zma mashuma yeuahala, like that. But now let's also shrink the possessor here. So let's say mashuma meyeuahala. She hit my child. Notice these kids in the kids section, the mini pronouns are going to line up. First, second, and third person. So first we have me, and then we have ye. Mashuma meyeuahala. She hit my child. But now let's make a different sentence. If I were to say, let's take this out. If I were to say that I hit a child, and I'll make it a feminine child again. If I hit a child, mashuma meuahala, but then whose child? Let's say it was her child. Possessor of pronoun. Let's say it's her child. Then I could say dahare mashuma meuahala, or if I were to shrink this as well, then we have mashuma meyeuahala. So this is the exact same sentence we just made. That means that mashuma meyeuahala can either mean she hit my child or I hit her child, because we don't know, when you see the sentence, we don't know where these kids came from. Where do these mini pronouns came from? So in this case, this is a shrunken possessor, and this one right here is this is a shrunken servant, and this is a shrunken possessor. So it's I did the hitting, I'm the subject, shrunken, and then this is ye, which is her, it's a possessor for the child. So that can mean I hit her child, but it could also be that this is the possessor and this is the servant. So it could mean that she hit my child, because whatever they are, they always have to line up in first, second, and third person. That's why you might hear people say something like "Rag me dewaurido," I heard your voice, which can also mean you heard my voice. So that's something really cool about the way that Pashto works with these shortening forms. Okay, so let's review everything that we've seen so far. We have a kid section, which comes after the first block. And in that kid section goes things like ba and the mini pronouns. Now there's other things too that go in there, but for now we just know that the ba comes in, and after ba comes the mini pronouns. And the mini pronouns have to line up in first, second, and third persons. That's the order that the kids always have to follow. And we can have up to 2 mini pronouns in a kids section, as long as they're not the same one repeating. And mini pronouns come from either shrinking a servant or shrinking a possessor.